All right, Caps and Canes. Season series was 2-2. By the way, I forgot to mention this in the last matchup. Panthers minus 170, Leafs plus 145. That's a series price for this series. The Canes are minus 160 and the Caps are plus 140. We'll talk about that in a second. But the season series was 2-2. The home team won all four games, and it's worth noting that Logan Thompson only started one of those four games this year. Vibe check before we go dive deep.
Beefy. This is going to be beefy. If you thought Caps Habs was beefy, this is going to be
Yeah.
double quarter pounder. Absolutely beefy.
Yeah, I think they asked Wilson, they asked Carlson, they asked some guys about this in the last day or two, and I really liked, I think it was Wilson's answer. He kind of alluded to some of the beef that went on throughout the year between these two teams, especially at the end of the year, and said, like while this is different, you kind of try to put that kind of stuff behind you. It's all still kind of there, and like anytime you're playing a division rival, you see them, more than anybody else in the league. There's just hatred between these two teams. And they also asked him about like Orlov being on the team and like, their long history with him. And they were all like, "Oh, I don't give a fuck." They were
Yeah.
like, I think somebody was like, "Oh, I'll have no problem like putting him through a wall or whatever." Or
Yeah.
like, and they're like, "I'm sure he's gonna do the same to me. Like, I know how he
Exactly.
plays." So
If
Yeah,
there was a, oh, sorry, you go, Nick.
it's beef that goes back a while. Like this is Southeast Division,
yeah,
like early 2000s hatred too. So it's been around for a minute.
If there was a bet, it might exist, but if there was a bet on which second round series will have the most penalty minutes, this would be my pick.
I could see
By
yeah,
that.
that's
by
probably
far.
probably a good pick.
So we all know the storylines. The end of the season, some games got ugly because of that controversial Chatfield fight with McMichael, where he kind of threw the leg out on him, and then the next game things got weird. So that storyline's carrying over. Both these teams, you please, Caps fans, don't kill me. I acknowledge that Ovi has a cup. I'm only saying this because it's storylines. The Caps have only gotten past the second round once, so this would be pretty cool if they advanced. No denying that. The Hurricanes have gained a reputation of being frauds every year. I think they've got 7 straight years where they've won a playoff series, still never been to the Cup Finals under Brindamore. So they're looking to snap that. So
And they've
both
been
these
to the
teams,
conference final
two times,
two
I think.
times, I
Yeah.
think.
Both these teams are horny. That's just the best way to
Yeah.
put it.
It's a good way to put it.
And I think the home ice thing that I mentioned earlier, the season series, home team won all four games. Carolina was the second best home team in the league this season, and they have not lost at home in the postseason yet. So
I was looking at their I know it's tough to compare regular season stuff to postseason. I don't like to do it a lot, but just for shits and gigs, I was looking at the Hurricanes home and away records throughout the regular season. And because again, back to what you said about the odds, I was trying to just figure out why the odds would be like that. And I couldn't figure it out from the home away thing because the Hurricanes were not a good road team this year. They were pretty bad actually. So I think that's yet another reason. Like Caps have home ice advantage. I don't know. I'm obviously biased, but I think you'd be silly not to at least throw a couple bucks on the Caps at plus 140. I think that's a juicy price.
Yeah, same here. I'm kind of shocked this isn't like
It
minus 115s across the board.
Yeah, it feels like a pick 'em to me. It feels like a
Right.
classic
yeah.
coin flip of a series.
Yeah.
Guys, come on. We know our listener base. Let's get some reasons why you guys are going to win. Let's
I
hear it.
think Mac made some great points in our little preview reel that we posted today about calling a certain team in this series figure skaters. That's it's accurate. Like if you thought the Habs had a hard time going up against the Caps physically, I don't know what you're gonna get with Carolina. Like if I was Carolina, I'd be looking over at that Habs team going, "Oh crap. They're scrappy and they got outworked completely by the Caps physically."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I that's basically it. I've been saying it for weeks. I've been saying it since the end of the season where we had that beef with them. I keep calling them a team of figure skaters because they just I mean it's sort of a backhanded comment or a backhanded compliment is sort of the way I mean it because I'll acknowledge they've got a lot of skill, they've got a lot of speed, some star power. I know people like to say they don't necessarily have like an A1 superstar, like this is the face of our franchise, but I think it works well for them to have like kind of a committee of skill with guys like Aho and Svechnikov and now Taylor Hall. I think he's been a great fit there as well. But with all that, you're missing what Nick just mentioned, which is who should the Capitals be afraid of on that team? Like from like a holy shit, this guy's on the ice. I gotta like I hear the footsteps come in, like I gotta look over my back. Like there's nobody really like that.
They don't
Like
have it. No.
I think,
um
who they should be afraid of in terms of like offensive prowess on the ice is a little bit different.
yeah, yeah,
Guys like Aho, Svechnikov, you got to know when you're out there. You
for
would think
sure.
the Strowman Dubois lines are going up against them every single time.
Yep.
Um, I
Obviously,
think,
Stankoven's been great for them too.
yeah, and
We all know
Jarvis,
what Blake has done in
I would
his
put like
young
those guys
career.
and Jarvis in the same group. It's like you just got to shadow the crap out of them. But like
Yep.
guys like McMichael and Leonard, I'd really hope they go at those guys. Duhaime, just like really make their lives rough, sticks in the
Yeah.
face after the whistle. Obviously, I don't want anyone to take any unnecessary penalties, but if you need to put Bauer on someone's, bicuspid, I'm okay with that.
I think one guy for the Caps who's played very well, and I'm not being critical when I say this, he's played very well, but in this series, he's probably going to have to find the back of the net, and that is Ryan Leonard. Because the
Yeah.
Canes can roll four lines. They're deep. There's no doubt. They might not have a big ace, but they've just got a bunch of pesky guys, especially in that third and fourth line, like
I would
Martinook,
agree.
Stahl,
Yeah.
all those guys. I think Leonard's going to have, like, the Caps are going to need that secondary scoring. He's played phenomenal, but he's going to have to tickle some twine.
I
I would
agree.
agree with you. Yeah, and I think he's had a couple of really good chances. I actually thought he had his best chance in our series clincher.
Yep.
He had one or two really close calls that I thought he was gonna and we were already winning, but I was hoping he would score just to kind of get some confidence there. It feels like it's coming because, like you said, he's played well, but I completely agree with you. He's gonna need to be one of the guys that figures it out. I I'm interested to see how the lines will evolve for the Caps
Yes.
because I'm not totally convinced that what we ran in game 5 against the Habs and what we've been running at the morning skates the last couple of days, I'm not totally convinced that's the way it's going to stay this whole series.
Yeah, I think another key indicator of how the series is going to go is how Alexei Protas continues to reacclimate himself because he's only played one playoff game. He didn't play a ton. He was playing fourth line in that game against the Habs to close that series out. So, definitely a guy you need to have. You mentioned secondary scoring. That's someone that you need to score, and he had a great season. So, would love to see that continue into the postseason for him.
And what's interesting is like you mentioned fourth line, he was on that line with Dowd and Duhaime. And the way they were deploying that line was as if it is our third line. And it kind of is, it seems, because the Mangiapane, Eller, Leonard line was getting fourth line minutes. So even though that's the way they stack the lines a lot of times, I'm pretty sure that Carbs and all of them kind of see that as our third at this point, and the Eller line as our fourth, just from like a deployment and minutes situation.
And I think that makes sense when you look at how good Nick Dowd was in that series against the Habs and how good Brandon Duhaime was in that series as well.
I do think that a big matchup in this series is going to be special teams, particularly the Canes' penalty kill and the Caps' power play. The Canes had the best penalty kill in the league. The Caps have the all-time leading power play goal scorer. So that's a great matchup right there. Then Freddie Anderson, we'll see. I'm reading that it looks like he's healthy. He played pretty darn well in round one. If he's healthy, that could also pose an issue for the Caps if he's on his game.
I still
Yeah,
have that like feeling that Kochetkov starts at least one game this series though.
I'm sure. Yeah, and I think the Canes PK. I was watching it a little bit in the Devils series and just towards the end of the season as well. It's scary to play against because they play an extremely active penalty kill. They don't sit back. They don't just sit in a box and force you to the perimeter. They attack whoever has the puck. So you have to constantly move the puck. If you are holding the puck for more than like 2 seconds, and that might even be generous. They're on you and they're clearing it. So I do like what I've heard from guys like Strom in interviews about the Caps power play coaching and that they're very meticulous. They study the opponent. They have different plans of attack for how to enter the zone against different teams and that sort of thing. So I trust them to come up with something that will be appropriate for that type of penalty kill. But I definitely think it'll be interesting to see.
And with all that being said, predictions. I don't
Caps
even
and
know why I'm
7.
asking. I don't even know why I'm asking. 7
Caps and 6.
Like it.
on
I
the
hope you're
road.
right.
Yep.
Canes and 6. Sorry, guys. Had,
Wishful thinking, eh? You want us out so bad.
hear me out. I'm gonna put a little bit of fear into the Caps fans listening because that's kind of my like job, and then these two will battle me and they'll make you feel better. I've seen this in the playoffs so far. I think we all thought in round one, we looked at the Kings series and we were like, how is Edmonton favored? Ekholm's hurt, the whole team's hurt. If the Kings have home ice, they're the best home team in the league. What happened? Vegas got it right. Then we look at what was it last night? The Blues in game seven. They were like plus 150 at the highest price point. And people were like, oh, I'm going to take that all day. Bennington's hot. Hellebuck sucks. Scheifele's out. Morrissey went down live in the first 5 minutes. What happened? Vegas got it right. So I'm looking at this and I'm picking the Canes, not strictly, but this line is too fishy. There's something going on here. They know something that we don't. Just my opinion.